Introducing YouTube memberships, a fun way to support the channel while getting some exclusive perks. Click the join button to become a member now and get benefits like badges next to your name on videos, behind-the-scenes photos, advantages during the live trivia game, discounts on merchandise, private one-on-one video chats, the ability to request future video topics, and exclusive 8 to 10 minute videos on the history of the NFL. And now, on with our feature presentation. October 12th, 2023. It's week 6 of the NFL season, and we kick off the week under the lights on Thursday Night Football at Arrowhead Stadium between the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs in an AFC West rivalry game. For the Broncos, this season has been kind of a disaster for them. They sit at 1-4, dead last in the conference, and tied for the worst record in the conference. They had a game earlier against the Miami Dolphins where they allowed 70 points, in a game that you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. The Sean Payton return to the NFL hasn't quite gone according to plan. But this is a great opportunity for them to get back on track and turn their season around. All they have to do is go into Kansas City to take on the Chiefs, who, let's be honest, are not very good. They've only won 4 straight games, they only won the Super Bowl last year, and have made it to the conference championship in each of the past 5 years. They only have the best quarterback in football in Patrick Mahomes, and they've only beaten the Broncos 15 straight times dating back to 2015. Meaning that if you are currently a freshman in college, you were still in elementary school the last time the Broncos actually beat the Chiefs. But, yeah, this one's gonna be brutal. However, to the surprise of a ton of people, this man right here, head coach Sean Payton, and the Broncos are holding their own through the first 20 minutes of the contest. They're not playing great by any means. The offense is completely stagnant, and treats midfield like Taylor Swift treats the McCavity song from Cats, in that she refuses to acknowledge its existence. However, they only find themselves down 10-0 with the ball at their own 39-yard line, with 2 timeouts to work with. If you can drive down the field here and get some points before the halftime break to cut it to a 1-possession game, you're in a halfway decent spot. First down, and that pass falls incomplete. Well, that stinks, but at least it only took 3 seconds off the clock, and the time stopped. Second down, and Russell Wilson hits Courtland Sutton for a gain of 5. Really, that's gotta be a better throw. You have to throw that outside the numbers so Sutton has a chance to go out of bounds, and you can save the timeout. But now, the Broncos have to burn their second timeout. Alright, you've got 28 seconds left. Time to get a good third down play near midfield to keep this drive alive, and give yourself a chance. Never mind, Russ got sacked. That wasn't good. Not good at all. The offense was having trouble all day, and this is just another prime example of that. Well, you're going into the half down 10-0. Could be worse. Could be a heck of a lot worse.
I love when he answered a question about who he lines up on third down. He said he goes 30 seconds in line. Looks at...
Actually, never mind. That's a smart timeout by the Chiefs. When you've got Patrick Mahomes, why not? Why not call a timeout and take a shot and see what happens? Heck, you've driven down the field in 13 seconds before. This is nothing. The Chiefs call timeout to stop the clock so they can get the ball back with time to run a few plays to possibly get some more points before the half and extend their leads at... Wait a second. Run that clip back.
I love when he answered a question about who he lines up on third down. He said he goes 30 seconds in line. Looks at...
Wait. Did the referee say what I think he did? Timeout for Denver? Maybe he just misspoke. Surely not. Surely he didn't. Think for 1 second here. Why would the Broncos call timeout? What logical reason would the Broncos have to call a timeout and give the ball back to the Chiefs there? That wouldn't make any sense at all. That had to be a misspeak. Wait a second, Amazon, why is your scoreboard like that? Why does it show the Broncos with no timeouts, and why did you assign the timeout to the wrong team? I know it was a rough game for you guys in the production truck, with your insistence of close-up shots of coaches, to the point where you can see their play sheet and something that the NFL is definitely going to write a strongly worded letter about, and the fake field goal attempt earlier in the game where you just completely forgot to show the play. But come on. You know this is wrong. It wouldn't make any logical sense for the Broncos to call a timeout here and give it right back to the Chiefs. It wouldn't make sense. Oh no. Oh no. No. That is a crap ton more no's than Destiny's Child gave. But don't even tell me. Don't even tell me. Don't even tell me the Broncos actually called a timeout there. But why? What logical purpose does calling a timeout there serve? Sean Payton, why on earth did you do that? Okay. Let me catch my breath before I have to see a doctor. Okay. We're going to get through this. I know we're not even a third of the way into the season with these dumb coaching moments, but we're going to get through this together. Besides, I'm sure this didn't end up mattering in the end, right? Right? Oh, God, help me.
Johnson to put it down. And Butker's kick is good.
Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something to look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something to look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're taking a look at the mind of Denver Broncos head coach Sean Payton. You know, Sean, it doesn't happen often where an NFL team or organization gets embarrassed. And that happened here with your blunder. Those aren't my words, though. Those are your exact words criticizing Nathaniel Hackett for how bad of a job he did as Denver's head coach. And look, don't get me wrong, Hackett was bad. I love doing videos on him. But he never did this. He never forgot what down it was. He at least won 2 of his first 6 games, something that you did not do. Stones and glass houses, that's all I'll say. There are some people that thought that Payton was on track to possibly make the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Personally, I was not one of them. However, for those who felt that he could have, he is potentially going on a George Seifert path of destruction to take himself out of the running with how bad this season has been, and with absolute stupidity like what we just watched unfold on Thursday night. So with that being said, let's take a look at why calling a timeout on 4th down when you're just going to punt the ball away anyways is a really bad idea. Amazingly, this is not the first time I've seen this. Last year in the college ranks, in the final game that Herm Edwards coached before he got fired from Arizona State after destroying that program, he did this in a loss to Eastern Michigan, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. But it's just as stupid. Oh man, it's just as stupid. As always, I like to look at the risk and reward of any situation when evaluating a play like this. And on the surface, when it comes to the 2 options at hand, this one seems pretty self-explanatory. Option 1 is to not call a timeout, which I think everyone with a brain would have done in this situation. And option 2 is to call the timeout, which Sean Payton is just about the only person on the planet who thought that this was a good idea. Let's start with option 1. What happens if you don't call timeout there? Well, one of 2 things can happen, both of which benefit you. Either the Chiefs call a timeout, or they don't call a timeout. If the Chiefs call a timeout, then yes, you have to give it back to them. But that's one less timeout that they have. That means one less play they have over the middle of the field. That means one less play where they can get a short chunk of yardage. It's a lot tougher to move the ball down the field a fair distance in a short amount of time when you have one less timeout at your disposal. Or, the Chiefs might not call a timeout, in which case, you can either call a timeout with 2 seconds left and try one final play with no real risk associated, since the turnover on downs means nothing, since the clock would be at 000s at the end of the half, or you can just let the clock expire and go into the half down 10-0, with the Chiefs having no chance to extend their lead. If you don't call a timeout, your situation cannot get worse. Either the Chiefs call timeout, and are in a worse scenario than they were before since they have one less play to work with, or no one calls timeout and everything stays the status quo. However, with what Sean Payton did, I mean, seriously, what the heck was he thinking? The best case scenario by calling a timeout there is that you give the ball back to the Chiefs. Why would you want to do that? Especially since they might not have wanted the ball back in the first place. They might have been perfectly content to go into the half 10-0. Why would you willingly want to give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes and give him time to potentially score? By calling a timeout, the Chiefs have an extra play over the middle of the field to work with, and they can spread their offense out even more. By calling a timeout, you willingly give the Chiefs an opportunity to extend their lead without doing anything. By calling a timeout, nothing good can happen. Seriously, nothing good can come from calling a timeout in that spot. The best case scenario is that you pin them deep, and you go into the half with a score at 10-0. The worst case scenario is that they have a big punt return and extend their lead, or they block the punt, or the punt is shanked, or anything along those lines. If you didn't call a timeout, the best case scenario if the Chiefs decided not to call timeout either is that the game is 10-0 at the half. The worst case scenario if neither team called a timeout is that the game is 10-0 at the half. So which sounds better? The option where it's guaranteed to be 10-0 and you risk absolutely nothing from either a score standpoint or an injury standpoint, or the option where it could be 10-0, but it could also be 13-0 or 17-0, and there's no chance at all that you're eliminating your goose egg. If you've ever seen the SpongeBob movie, this is like the scene where King Neptune is telling SpongeBob and Patrick that they have 10 days to make it to Shell City and retrieve the crown. And Patrick keeps lowering the deal to 6 days for no reason. Like, you didn't need to do that. You had no incentive to do that. You just made it tougher for yourself. You had nothing to gain and everything to lose. That's what this was like. Seriously, this was one of the stupidest timeouts I've ever seen. Because even if you squint and try and stretch an argument out of this, you cannot come up with one benefit to calling a timeout. Not one. There was not one hypothetical scenario where this made any sense at all. And at least after the game, Sean Payton acknowledged his mistake, but did so in an absolutely embarrassing way. As Payton said, "That's a boneheaded mistake by me. They were calling one as well, and I'm off by a down, but that was stupid." Seriously, I am not making that up. Sean Payton thought that it was 3rd down and not 4th down. This was the man criticizing Nathaniel Hackett for how bad he was and how he was an embarrassment to the coaching profession, folks. This man couldn't tell a 3 apart from a 4. This man was so confused at what down it was that he just called a timeout without stopping to think about the sequence of events that took place, or without bothering to look up at the scoreboard, or without bothering to look at the man right next to him holding the down marker. Can we put an asterisk on the Chiefs' AFC West reign of terror? Because they're in a division where the other 3 teams have coaches that are the real-life equivalent of Ralph Wiggum gluing his head to his neck. You've got Brandon Staley, who would probably go for it on 4th and 4 from his own 9-yard line up by 2 points with a minute left if he was given the opportunity. You've got Josh McDaniels, who has a thing for kicking field goals with 2 minutes left in situations where it makes no logical sense to do so. And you can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And you got Sean Payton, who can't count to the number 4. I mean, my God. This was the guy you traded a 1st-round pick for? At least with Hackett, you didn't have to give up draft capital to find a guy who was just as bad, if not worse. Sean Payton had an awful game yesterday. I don't know what he's doing. You had this debacle at the end of the first half. You had the bizarre decision in the second quarter to stop running the football, even though that was the one thing that was clearly working for them. You had a decision with about 2 minutes left in the game where the Chiefs were driving down the field and the Broncos did not call a timeout before the 2-minute warning. It would have given them some extra time to play with when they were down by 2 scores. You also had, when they were down 16-0, the complete lack of urgency on offense. There were 7 minutes left, you needed 16 points, and the Broncos were huddling up, We're not going no huddle, and we're taking the play clock all the way down to 5 seconds. This team is so bad and so poorly coached right now. There's nothing positive to say. The Sean Payton experiment so far has been a complete and utter disaster. And this game, particularly the end of the first half, highlight that to a T. So what do we learn from all of this? If it's 4th down and you're going to punt the ball away, don't call a timeout. If you can't count to the number 4, then you should get your eyes checked. You should see a doctor, or you should be fired, because you are not qualified to be a head coach. If the best case scenario in one option is the exact same as the best case scenario in the other option, but the worst case scenario in one option is the same as the best case scenario, and the worst case scenario in the other option is a complete and utter disaster, then it should be very obvious as to which option you pick. And if you're going to criticize other coaches for being stupid and bad at their jobs, perhaps you shouldn't be making mistakes that rival and even top what your predecessor did. Seriously, this was bad, folks. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Get your official Jaguar Gear 9 merchandise by going to jj9shop.com, and be sure to like and subscribe, as it really helps the channel out a lot. Join me every Wednesday night where we'll play NFL Trivia for cash prizes at 9 p.m. Eastern over on Twitch. To learn more about the history of college football, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To learn more about the history of Major League Baseball, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 7. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.